want to bring in our panel now. NewsNation political contributors Lauren Wright and Kurt Bardella. All right, a lot to kick around here. Lauren, I'm going to start with you. What stands out to you about the numbers we just heard Kelly Meyer reporting on? You think the White House has a good story to sell going into the new year? How do you see it?
You know, better than a lot of first presidents after their first year. I think she gave a great report. The economic confidence in this country is very mixed at best. People thought that Trump would come into office and have a direct hand in lowering costs. And of course, that's a lot easier said than done. And so Republicans do have major headwinds facing them in the midterms, but I don't think it's above and beyond what we've seen in previous administrations. The economic numbers coming out have been better than expected. He has some really strong wins to tout on the big, beautiful bill, his legislative agenda, and some foreign policy initiatives. And people do want law and order, and they still want the crime crackdown.
Right.
They just don't want these sweeping implementations where they see people being taken away that they've known for years. So I would say it's a real mix, maybe a little better than normal.
Hey, Kurt, what do you think about that? Do you agree? And also, I wanted to ask you about President Trump's approval rating that's hovering around 40%, according to DDHQ. The president dismissed his latest approval numbers, though, in a Truth Social post. That happened last night. He wrote, "The polls are rigged even more than the writers. The real number is 64%. And why not? Our country is hotter than ever before." So I wanted to ask you about the point that Lauren was making, and also wondering if you think that Democrats can capitalize on Trump sort of dismissing the real concerns from voters, according to that Truth Social.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump is running the risk of repeating the mistakes that Joe Biden and Democrats made in 2024, which is to try to convince the American people that what their lived experience is with this economy isn't actually real, that everything is great, everything's better than it's ever been. Look at these great statistics from the BLS or the unemployment numbers or all of these intangible figures that really to everyday Americans mean nothing, because what most people experience is that the cost of housing is still high. The cost of healthcare is going up, and after tomorrow will be even higher than it was 24 hours ago. The cost of childcare is out of reach for too many working families. The cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the affordability issue is potent and it is real. And if Donald Trump's strategy is to go out there, campaign in battleground midterm states and say, hey, this is the greatest economy of all time, and if you feel like it's not, it's actually Joe Biden's fault, that message is not going to work. And I'll just add too, when it comes to the approval ratings, I can tell you, DDHQ's numbers are fantastic. The polling that we see time and time again tells the same story across the board. The majority of Americans disapprove of the job that Donald Trump is doing. They disapprove on how he's handling the economy. They do not believe that Republicans are well equipped to handle the economy, and they don't believe that that people in the White House and in Washington are looking out for them. That's the bottom line.
All right. Well, yeah, we continue to monitor those numbers very closely. And you're right, our DDHQ numbers are usually very spot on, or always spot on, I should say. Lauren, I want to shift gears slightly because Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado, a fierce Trump supporter who recently broke with the administration over the Epstein files, is now slamming the White House after President Trump vetoed a bipartisan bill that aimed to complete a water pipeline in her district. So this is another top story that we're watching. Boebert released a statement calling the decision short-sighted, added that she hopes the decision had nothing to do with political retaliation. So when we take a look at this story, I mean, what do you make of it? Do you think that President Trump should be concerned about getting on the wrong side of his supporters? It is just one person, but, you know, we're making news out of it.
It is just one person. And I do think that the mistake that some of these really Trumpian MAGA types that were elected, whether it's in 2016 or just a couple years ago, a new fold came in, is that they assume if they go hard in the MAGA direction, that Trump will either be with them all the way or those voters will follow them. And so this is just a classic thing. Kurt can tell you firsthand from his many years working in Congress. But, your local district concerns of your voters always do and should supersede your loyalty to the president. Whether she's going to have a good outcome based on sort of taking it to Trump, I don't know. She could end up in some political trouble. But I understand the calculation she's making, which is that I wanted that pipeline, and she's kind of ruffling some feathers now.
You know, Kurt, it is a pretty sharp criticism from Boebert following this break with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, because we've had these two things going on. A few people saw that coming, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You left the Republican Party in 2017 as we keep track of you and joined the Democrats after the Republican Party backed a candidate accused of sexual assault in an Alabama Senate race. So we want to give that context there. Do you think the Republican Party should be concerned about losing voters over those sorts of questions?
You know, I always say I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me. And every day we see that play out. And when we get to a point where Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert aren't MAGA enough for this Republican Party, I think that speaks volumes about the direction that it is going, and that it is a party that's not really wrapped in ideals and convictions, but rather around a monolithic figure, and that fealty and loyalty to him is the only litmus test that exists, whether you're good enough to be in this party or whether or not you'll get run out of town and run out of power. I think that it's a really concerning thing when you have potentially politically charged decisions about who gets water or water quality access or funding for water resources, because you had the audacity to want to get the transparency on an alleged child trafficker. This is a party that I find unrecognizable. I was Republican because I believe in smaller government. I believe in a less powerful executive branch. I believed in checks and balances, and that government works best when it's closest to the people. My values on those things haven't changed one bit. The values the Republican Party certainly have under Donald Trump.
And Kurt, before I let you go, you wrote a piece for The Hill saying that Democrats need to find a way to reconnect with everyday Americans rather than just the Beltway bubble and liberal elite, noting that Republicans have become completely a monolithic party. So will Democrats be successful in doing that? This piece that you wrote about, what do you think?
I hope so. You know, I just spent my first year living in a red state as a moderate Democrat. And I can tell you, as the majority of people that I'm around are diehard Republicans, they're Trump supporters. But every day, whether I'm on the soccer field with my kid, at school, running errands, we have more in common than what separates us politically. Democrats have to learn how to talk to those people and show that they can be a party that's big enough to have a Mandani on the left, a recovering Republican like myself or like David Jolly, or a red dirt Democrat like James Tallarico. We can have it all. Do not put artificial litmus tests on who's progressive or Democrat enough for their Democratic Party, because if you do that, you're going to end up exactly where the Republicans are right now.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that and for sharing your piece. And I'd like you both to stay right there if you could and stay with us. I want to get your take on another story.